Lycanroc does not get enough respect, but today the plan is to get the Rock Doggo to be a menace. So first of all, there's 3 different Lycanroc forms you can work with, and they're all a bit different. The Midnight form is honestly, in my opinion, the worst, and it's the most different of the 3. It's slow, and the only real thing it's got going for it is the No Guard ability, and that only really helps with not having to worry about missing a Stone Edge. Then there's either regular form or Dusk form. The stats on these bad boys are super similar, where 2 stat points are switched with speed and attack. The Dusk form enjoys the Tough Claws ability, which grants it a nice 30% boost to all of its contact moves, but while the regular form doesn't really get any useful abilities, the 2 points in speed can make a big difference. But my Lycanroc is basically going to have one job. First of all, we can get up Stealth Rock support and then bait the opponent into knocking us down with a Focus Sash. Now at 1 HP, we bust out the Endeavor. This brings the opponent's HP to match ours, and since we're hanging on by a damn thread with 1 HP, we've got them right where we want them. We can often find ourselves in a position to Endeavor on a Pokemon that doesn't see it coming, and then pick off their last HP with Priority Stab Accelerock. It's a gimmick as old as time, but hey, I'm not gonna lie, it works. Shout out to Fear. For the final move slot, we have hard-hitting Close Combat that often catches people by surprise, and overall, Lycanroc always seems to come in pretty clutch, so today, its time has come. Alright, look, there's certain Pokemon that fit into a category I like to call all reliables. And I think today it's finally time to induct Lycanroc into the elite category of some months that just are so easy to toss on a team and just always provide great value. I always have a really fun time showing love to fellas that don't get used super often. If that sounds like a fun time to you, consider hitting that subscribe button. We have a good time over here. So look, one of the most popular questions I get is how can I improve when it comes to Pokemon battling? And the main thing that I try to explain is that competitive Mons is far and beyond a game of knowledge. You've got to remember type matchups, speed tiers, move pools, and learn sets of each Pokemon, and that's just scratching the surface. I always say that the best way to improve is just by playing the game, which is the most fun way to do it, and it's a great way to learn while, having a good time. Now you may be thinking, learning a valuable skill like coding would be really cool if it was that easy, and I'm happy to announce that it actually is, thanks to today's sponsor, Boot.dev. Boot.dev is an innovative learning platform that's designed to teach you valuable programming skills in Python, SQL, and Go that works like a role-playing game all at the same time. You level up by earning XP and completing quests, all by doing actual programming tasks. I'm not gonna lie, when I tried it out, it is super satisfying and I love the whole game-like feel of it. You get through lessons quickly and it feels good to have achievements to work toward. I'm out here chasing fireworks, baby. You can even fight bosses while learning to code, which is something I thought I'd never say. They have a massive amount of content, all with the focus of getting you to actually write some code, and there's truly not a better way to learn. Before you know it, you'll realize you've actually written a ton of code all by yourself, and the fact is that bored learners give up quick, and smart learners never get bored. And honestly, Boot.dev makes it damn near impossible to get bored. It comes with a 30-day no questions asked refund policy and a free demo on every course. So there's truly never been a better time to give it a try. So if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, go to boot.dev and use my code Haydunn to get 25% off your entire first year on the annual plan. And with that, let's get back into the battle. Alright, so my opponent is going to go ahead and lead off with the Alolan Sandslash. It's a bad day to be an icy boy if it's a nice hot day on the beach, and I was really kind of hoping that this would be the lead. Now, I do go with the Lycanroc, of course, and while I know this thing's probably here to set up Stealth Rock, I can set up my own, but also that close combat button is staring me down like the Green Goblin mask. I'm absolutely gonna click that turn 1. This thing is 4 times weak, and yeah, the Alolan Sandslash does not have a good time being on the receiving end of these hands. So they do not have a Focus Sash. That's gonna immediately set us up 6-5 from the start, and we absolutely love to see it. Look, now as they go into Revenge Switch and they bring in Flygon, which I decide I can click Stealth Rock here. If I'm slower, it means they're Choice Scarf, and I'm honestly feeling like they probably Dragon Dance here. Most of the time, that's what Flygon does these days. I do set up my Stealth Rock as I am faster, and at face value here, I am certainly in danger, but the good thing is, I kind of wanted them to do that. I get up my Stealth Rock, which is great, but now, as they're faster, I can predict them to go for an Earthquake and click the Endeavor, and that's exactly what they do. They go for that Earthquake, brings me down to 1, and that's Lycanroc performs its best when it's hanging on by a damn thread over here. It also reveals this thing is going to be Life Orb, but as I go for the Endeavor, that's going to bring it down to my 1 HP, and now we've got this thing right where I want it, because the most satisfying feeling ever is now being able to pick it off with the Priority Accelerock, and that is going to be a dead Flygon. So just like that, Lycanroc has poked a nice sizable hole in the squad, and we're honestly not even done yet, because as they now go into Kingdra, here's the thing, I'm still at 1 HP, I can still click an Endeavor, and I'm faster than Kingdra's Seahorse ass. So I can, honestly, I'm thinking, does this thing have priority? Surely it does not. I can go for another Endeavor, bring the Kingdra down to 1, which makes it insanely easy to deal with. And as they do finish me off with a Scald, it's not before this Lycanroc absolutely ruined Buddy's day. So we essentially can go ahead and chalk up a little UAV kill streak for the boy. We almost got to 3. Essentially, it is 3. I mean, Kingdra's just hanging on by a damn thread. I decided to go into the Gramble here to pick the thing off. First of all, I'm Assault Vest, so I should be able to take any attack it wants to throw at me. And honestly, taking care of the Kingdra is great because, first of all, these things a lot of the time are running scope lens, crazy agility, and, you know, sniper sets, which is wildly unfortunate and focus energy nonsense. But my team also just doesn't deal with Kingdra well. So as it does end up having the coverage with the flash cannon, I can just connect on a play rough that is going to take care of it. And that feels pretty damn good. Now they can go into another event switch in here. They decide to go into the Cantonian Sandslash. Buddy's double slashed up on a Wednesday afternoon, and sometimes it does be like that. Now, here's the thing. I'm thinking surely they go for a Rapid Spin here. For whatever reason, I just feel like this Sandslash is either going to Swords Dance or go for a freaking Rapid Spin. So I decided, hey, I'm going to go into the old Ghost type, block a spin for me, and that's always a good feeling. Nope, I end up actually switching into a Poison Jab, which is resisted, but it touches me physically, is going to break the pot a little bit here, activates the weak armor, which isn't really ideal. It is going to activate my White Herb, which is kind of fine, but that's mostly there to just negate the Shell Smash drops. And now I can't really go for a Shell Smash. I might be able to take one attack from the thing, but I figure my best bet here is to instead just go ahead and throw a Shadow Ball at him. It's not going to quite be enough to knock it out, and also, Poltergeist does not do well on the physical side. They can finish me off with an Earthquake. And, you know, I probably should not have gone into the T there. You know, that was not really ideal. What it does do, though, is that with that amount of chip, this thing is basic. I have a couple of different options to switch into here, and now anything else really knocks it out. So I decide, you know who has a pretty damn fun time here in this late game is feeling like the boy Regidrago. Shout out to the Dragon Ball. This thing's fun as hell. I can go for a Dragon Energy, which is diabolical damage. That truly is just nothing wants to take that. And if you're a fairy type, no, you're not. So that's going to be a dead Sandslash. Now they've got 2 Mons left. So first of all, they have a Crawdon, and the main reason why I didn't want to go into Empoleon on the Sandslash is because this fella can get the big meaty claws over here. While he is probably delicious, is threatening. This thing can set up and be kind of scary. So in order to stop that, I went Regidrago, and now I can go for a Dragon Energy. They can't really go for an Aqua Jet there. They were forced to likely click a knockoff, but yeah, that thing is put that boy into a pot of boiling water. That is going to easily take care of it. And now, final one going to be the Yanmega. I am actually Choice Scarf, so I should be able to outspeed the thing. Unless it gets a Protect Speed boost, but they decide to head out. The Regidrago is too much. And I'm feeling like that W was brought to you by Lycanroc. Bro sponsored the match with some fun Endeavor nonsense. And that's now going to bring us into game number 2. Look, if you've stuck around this far into the video, go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button. It really does help out the channel. And if you are still watching Scarlet and Violet content, I'm still having fun with it. I don't know. The turn-based combat is obviously something I'll never give up. And hopefully you guys feel the same. Now, this team we're going up against it's honestly kind of unfortunate. I'm rocking with Sun, Buddy's rocking with Sand, and we got ourselves a little bit of a weather war situation against a very scary team. So this one's going to be pretty tough, and let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so this time my opponent is going to go ahead and lead off with everybody's favorite wooden ball, the Hisuian Electrode, which is unfortunate as I go with the Lycanroc here. Now, the Electrode is definitely going to be faster. Buddy's aerodynamic as hell, and I figure I'm just going to go for a Stealth Rock. They either go for something like a Leaf Storm, or they Volt Switch. Now, they do go for the Volt Switch here. Fast turn 1 pivot allows them to get a better matchup here, and that also does a half, which is kind of not great for Lycanroc. This thing's mostly built to just live things with a sash and then, you know, do its Endeavor stuff. But as they now pivot into the Excadrill, I get up my Stealth Rock, which is first of all pretty sweet, but also, since they do not have any Sandstorm up, I am going to be naturally faster. I can then surprise them with the close combat. People forget that Lycanroc has these hands that are rated E for everyone. And as they stay in on the close combat, amazingly for me, that is going to be able to take care of the Excadrill, and that feels very good. First of all, because we pop his balloon and ruin his birthday party, but second of all, that's nice because now they do not have a very scary Sand Sweeper. While they do have some other scary sand stuff, at least the Excadrill's gone, and we get ourselves our rocks and a nice little knockout. So now they decide to bring in the Hippowdon, and while I don't really want to click Endeavor here, they're surely just going to go for something like a Stealth Rock, I imagine. But I want to play it safe. Lycanroc does still have some pretty good value later on. I decide to go into the Torkoal. First of all, just to, you know, be a menace and get rid of their sand and turn it to sun. And also, as they go for that Stealth Rock now, I pressure them with a Rapid Spin. So I essentially have 2 options here. I know that they can probably predict that Rapid Spin and go into their Ghost type being the Houndstone. So I'm going to predict that and end up switching into the Tropius, or Tropius, whatever the hell he is. Now, it does turn out to be a little bit of a weird situation. I probably, as a middle ground play, I will say in hindsight, should have clicked Will-O-Wisp here. Regardless, as they end up switching into the Tyranitar. A Wisp landing on that thing would have been amazing. If they did go into the Houndstone, a Will-O-Wisp still would have been really good. But instead, I just go into the Tropius because I'm like, I want to try to get this damn banana thing going. If you haven't seen the Tropius video, definitely go check it out. This thing's hilarious. And it's not that great, but as I'm now staring down a Tyranitar, I'm not in a great spot. But my main objective with this team has been to try to get this damn Tropius going. So I'm like, you know what? Might as well. I'm already here. Surely they go for something like some rock damage here. I can go for my Terra Ground and just see if the Bowl Cut gives me the power to maybe get something going versus the T-Tar. So obviously this thing's plan is to go for substitutes and then be able to like try to harvest a whole bunch of lychee berries while dragon dancing. And it's not easy. It's not easy to get going. Now, funny part is I end up outspeeding that. I go for my substitute first, and as they do go for the Stone Edge, I was thinking how sick would it be if it didn't even break my sub? Nope, of course it does. That is going to do enough, even with the resisted hit. And now I've got myself basically in a spot where I probably should not have used up my Terra at this point. But again, when I'm using teams like this that features complete nonsense, my main objective is to just try to get it going. So, like, now I can click a Dragon Dance in hopes that I can live another Stone Edge, but they have the Ice Punch coverage. I don't know why you don't click Ice Punch before if you have it on the substitute or like on the first turn there. I mean, because I'm 4 times weak. They didn't know I was going to Terra. Regardless, I get Ice Punched into the damn Shadow Realm, and that honestly sets me back pretty good. So the good thing is now though, I can put some big pressure. They saw the power of these Tough Claws close combats when that Exterior died. And also Tyranitar being 4 times weak to fighting, I'm thinking surely I can get some momentum back here. I can force it out with the prospect of a close combat, expect them to bring in the Houndstone, and I can go for a little switch expecting that. So I decided to go into Torkoal, thinking obviously they're going to bring in that Houndstone. They do switch the Tyranitar out. That thing has either was going to stay in and go for a Ghost Terra, or they switch. Now they do go into the Houndstone here, and this is kind of the matchup that we were looking for. Now I will say, I kind of overthink this situation a little bit. As much as I wanted to get the Will-O-Wisp off here, I also am thinking, you know what? Surely they don't leave this thing in, right? I'm going to try to go ahead and capitalize on another switch here, and I'm really trying to feel like I need to make a big momentum swing to have the upper hand. Now, I expected them to go into the Hippowdon, first of all, to get their sand back up, but to also have a better matchup versus the Torkoal. But instead, they just stay in and click Poltergeist versus the Torkoal there, which would have done nothing. And as I switched into the Decidueye, hoping that I was going to get the Hippowdon, now I get my shit bashed in with a spell tag as they go for that Poltergeist. And at this point, that it does really kind of ruin Decidueye here for at least, you know, the foreseeable future. I just go for the Shadow Sneak here, as it feels like a decent play just to get some chip, as they bring in the freaking crazy-ass Enamorus. God, this thing is so incredibly scary, but it's only then that I realize also that thing completely walls my Hisuian Decidueye, and I'm kind of back against the wall at this point where I'm like, I'm honestly best off just clicking Shadow Sneak again. I've taken too much chip from that Poltergeist. At least with the Shadow Sneak here, I can put it below half. Of course, though, it does have a Citrus Berry. This freaking weird cloud turtle snake. What the hell even is this thing? Worst part is it ends up going for the Calm Mind too. So, you know, they capitalize on the great matchup here. And as I was just trying to get a Shadow Sneak before death, I am now staring down this thing going for going for your freaking Calm Minds. And I am frightened. So I just go for another Shadow Sneak here just to basically get more chip. They could have continued to Calm Mind there. So honestly, I'm pretty thankful for the fact that they just go for the Draining Kiss there. It does finish off the Decidueye, but sadly, they get so much health back, and they end this matchup at +1 special attack and special D, and pretty healthy. Good thing is, at least though, this thing's slow, right? So I can work with that, and I either can go into Sandy Shocks or I go into the Lycanroc. Now I decided to bring in Lycanroc, and here's where things are going to get a little interesting. So I'm feeling like either they Terra here or they switch out, fearing some rock damage. So I'm like, instead of that, I'm going to go ahead and predict another switch and go for an Endeavor, hoping that something like the Hippowdon wants to come in. Again, with the Weather Wars, I know they want the sand up, so it works out pretty nicely. They do end up switching into the Hippo. It does reset the sun into the sand, but I feel like the combination of this Endeavor, while I'm not nearly as low as I feel like I wanted to be, 39 HP, it does put this thing into red, and then I can outspeed with a close combat. That takes care of the Hippo, and that is a huge defensive wall out of the way. And now that feels like that opens up my late game to potentially allow Sandy Shocks to be one of my win conditions. So the sand is up, however, and that sucks because now they can go into the Houndstone once again. And I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? Just go ahead and turn that sand off. They have 2 sand setters, being Tyranitar and the Hippo. But at least they're down to just one. The Hippowdon is gone, and I decide to just go into the Torkoal here. I might as well stop this thing in its tracks, at least hopefully. The best I can do is kind of cripple it in terms of this thing not having its sand. So as I bring in Torkoal, they go for the Poltergeist. The Poltergeist animation always takes so long to actually go off. It always feels like it's gonna miss. It doesn't miss, sadly. But what's kind of cool is as I live that with one, I am in kind of a weird spot here to where I'm like, nothing really wants to switch into it. They go for the Psychic Fangs to finish off the Torkoal. And honestly, it doesn't feel great because now as I lose Torkoal, I have no way to reset the weather, and they're going to end up with some sand. But it's not over because what I can do is now bring in the Sandy Shocks, who is in the sun, and I have this thing crippled to the point where I should be able to knock out the Houndstone here. So I get that Photosynthesis, is going to give me the speed boost. And that's important to note that even with that Photosynthesis boost, I'll be faster than everything they've got. So I end up clicking a Thunderbolt here, and as they switch out, my thought was that I don't want to really Earth Power just in case maybe an Amherst comes in and then has a Terra. But as they end up switching into the Tyranitar, this is where I'm like, this is still fine, right? It comes in, it takes Stealth Rock Chip. It is going to set up its Sandstream, which is going to give it its built-in special defense boost that comes with being a rock type. And as I do still have my Photosynthesis boost via the booster energy, I'm still able to retain that speed boost, which is important. But as I go for this T-Bolt here, this Tyranitar is bulky. That did nothing. I was really hoping that the combination of a Thunderbolt and an Earth Power knocks that thing out. But now as I'm looking at it, an Earth Power might still be in range to knock it out. It's the best thing I can do. I go for the Earth Power and it lives. So the misplay on my end, going for that, the Thunderbolt instead of the Earth Power there, might just have cost me the match, because I honestly still thought that the combo of a T-Bolt and an Earth Power would be enough against the Tyranitar, and it turns out it was not. And now things are going to get real interesting because I'm down to 2 Mons left. And at this point, I'm forced to go into the Garchomp. So at least I've chipped the Tyranitar down to where it shouldn't really be, honestly, a problem. But also, I'm a special attacking Specs Garchomp here. So as much as I expect them to go into the Enamorus, that is exactly what they're going to do. They come in, luckily, are going to have to take some Stealth Rock damage there, which is important. Because as I go for the Surf as a good middle ground play, 2 Surfs is going to be able to take care of it. So knowing that I outspeed, I can just pick off the Enamorus. But the problem now becomes they still have very fast Mon with the Hisuian Electrode, which is why I needed Sandy Shocks with my booster energy to be able to outspeed. And Houndstone, honestly, is still relatively scary, but I think I can take one attack with the Garchomp being at full here. So I'm just going to continue to fire off Surfs, doing my best Water Shark impression here. They go for that Poltergeist. It's going to reveal the Choice Specs, and I'm like, please live. I do live easily, and after some Life Orb damage, this thing is going to be in range for a Surf to knock it out. So honestly, Garchomp coming in and causing a little bit of a ruckus might put me in a position to where this could be winnable, but as I'm looking at it, the problem becomes that damn orb. Now as the Sandstorm is going to go away, they just go back into the Tyranitar. They're down to 2 Mons left. Tyranitar's like, hey, how the hell's it going? And then just dies to the Stealth Rock. So, you know, you hate to see it, but this has come right down to it because now their final Mon is going to be the Hisuian Electrode. And I've got obviously just Lycanroc in the back as this thing comes in, is feeling a little bit too healthy over there. It's obviously going to be faster than everything I've got left. And now it kind of comes down to what is this thing set? I always imagine they're probably Choice Specs. As they go for a Leaf Storm, they do connect first of all. I had no option other than to stay in and click Surf. That is going to take care of the Chomp. Now they do get that special attack drop, which, you know, is nice to see. But sadly, my final Mon being Rock Dog, even with that, especially if it's Specs, is going to knock me out. However, it could very well, it could miss a Leaf Storm, and that could be the most hilarious ending ever. Now, I decided to go for the Accelerock. 2 should be able to do it. I do get the attack off. It doesn't quite do enough, and they connect on the Leaf Storm, and that is going to be the end of the game on that one. So honestly, a really close ending there. Some obvious misplays on my end, but overall, my opponent played well. I gotta hand it to him. Sometimes that's the way it goes. I definitely should have just clicked Earth Power, you know, when I Thunderbolted that one time. But you know, hindsight is 20/20, and I messed up on that one. But it's fine. Still a really fun game. That's the way it goes, and I had some fun with it. So thank you guys very much for watching. For real, the support on these videos is amazing. I love you all, and I will catch you next time. Peace out.